Welcome back to the First Time Home Buying Show with Gizmo, where one host's favorite part of the house is the roof. But quick interlude before we start about my maintenance tragedy turned to triumph. My wife and I have been in this home for about 5 years, so this is about 2 years ago, and our refrigerator started to rumble. I guess like the buzzing had mildly build up. So like I would hear it when the buzzing would get pretty loud, but my wife was like, "Hey, that fridge is kind of buzzing all the time." We started looking at fridges because we wanted to get like kind of upgrade our fridge. We're like, "Oh man, this is going to cost us maybe like $2,000-$3,000." And luckily we have like a maintenance budget set aside. We'll talk about that later in the episode. But we're like, okay. But first, man, let's at least call somebody, have them take a look at it. Maybe there's something that they can fix as far as the fridge. So we made a post on our neighborhood Facebook group, and we got a recommendation, luckily, from a reputable maintenance person, which that is important as well. We'll talk about that later as well. Make sure you're comparing quotes before going into any sort of big bit of maintenance or buying a mortgage or really a car or anything in general. Always compare quotes. And so the guy came over, he started looking at the fridge, and he was like, okay, there's not really anything I can see that's bad. The buzzing was not going on while he was there. And so he pulled out the fridge. One thing I did not even realize, you could like pull out the fridge. Apparently you just open the doors and lift it up. It seems like counterintuitive to lift the whole fridge from the doors, but it just kind of rolled out. So that was something I learned right there. And so he pulled it out, and he looked behind the fridge and was looking at the coils and stuff, and it's like, oh, and there was just a bunch of dust because behind the fridge where the coils are, it's just kind of like open. I guess it allows the refrigerator to breathe. And he pulled like all this dust and stuff that had built up over 5 years in the property, and was like, well, I can't see anything. I'm not going to charge you for this visit, but if the buzzing continues, a few weeks from now, give me a call. And so basically pulling out all that fuzz and dust and hair and all the stuff, dog hair, dog food from behind there, the buzzing of the refrigerator reduced drastically. I mean, there's still a little bit of buzzing, but like the refrigerator was laboring because we were not doing just the basic cleaning and maintenance on the fridge. So what could have happened to us if we had like a shady character, they could have been like, oh, we're going to charge them, $1,000, $1,500 to replace a coil or something like that on the fridge. Or maybe we could have got the quote and they're like, hey, that's too much. Now we got to spend an extra $2,000 on a fridge, when in actuality, if we had just been doing like the basic every 6 months clean behind the fridge, we would probably have a lot less issues with our fridge. It still buzzes a little bit, but that's probably like maybe reduce the life of the fridge maybe a year or two, right? Like I said, it's still 2 years later and we still have the same fridge, but that's just a small story how doing basic maintenance on the property for free can prevent a potentially huge bill down the line. Now let's get to the episode. One of your biggest fears, let me guess, for buying a home is the maintenance. Everyone's scared of all these maintenance costs when it comes to buying homes. So let's talk about it. Because I saw this article today in USA Today. It was entitled, High Cost, Major Regrets, Homeowners Spend $6,000 on average in the first year of buying a home. And that number was kind of like wild to me, because in the home I'm sitting in right now, and I've owned it for about 7 years, I don't think I spent $6,000 a month, or excuse me, $6,000 total on maintenance. So one stat I saw is that 30% of homeowners feel that their house poor because they're spending too much of their income on housing expenses. And that breaks down to 39% of millennials. So one thing that I saw right away was that you probably are experiencing or may experience in the future is folks not properly budgeting for maintenance expenses, because here's the thing, when you buy a home, there's going to be maintenance, right? I think everyone knows that, but they are kind of caught off guard by certain things. But the other aspect of the coin is this false idea that somehow folks don't pay for maintenance when you're renting a property. When you're renting, you're essentially paying for maintenance on a monthly basis. So let's say the mortgage, including taxes and insurance of the property, is $2,000. And your landlord wants to make a little bit off the property as well. So let's say if they wanted to clear $200, your rent or your mortgage, or excuse me, your rent would be $2,200, right? No, that's wrong, because they have to factor in maintenance as well. So they may say, hey, it's going to cost me $2,400 a month in order to maintain this property on a yearly basis. So guess what? That $2,400 is divided by 12, and then there's an extra like $2,000 on top of the rent. I know that's not exactly how rent is calculated. There's market factors as well, but that's kind of how we get to that market rent number, is the mortgage plus expenses plus a little bit of pocket change for the landlord for their troubles. But here's the thing as well. So what good landlords do is they factor in like the monthly maintenance expenses, whether it's yard work, whether it's upkeep of systems, but they also factor in what's called like capital expenditures. So those are bigger expenses that you face down the road, like a roof, or replacing like an HVAC system, maybe, in 7 or 8 years. So that's factored in as well. So you're paying for the yearly maintenance and the long-term maintenance. But here's the thing. Let's say you're only in the property for 1 or 2 years. You're still paying for those long-term expenses that you never get to, benefit from, because you don't get the new HVAC system, or get the cooler air. And obviously you're paying for a roof that's going to be replaced maybe 7 to 10 years after you leave the property. So in actuality, you're typically paying a little bit more for maintenance when you're renting, but once again, that's broken down on a monthly basis, so you don't really feel the strain when it comes to that. So you can do the same thing as a prospective home buyer. Like, set aside a budget of maybe $200, $300 a month, put it in a kitty, and you may only use, let's say, $100 of those dollars every month. But hey, maybe 3-4 years down the road, now in that maintenance kitty, you may have $3,000-$4,000. So when something does break, you're ready to go. You can take that money out of the kitty. But that's some discipline you need as a first time or second time or third time home buyer, is making sure you're setting aside money for your budget. Now let's talk about some of these other items in the article. So when folks are selling their home, they spend about $10,000 making the home look a little bit better. These numbers seem super high to me, to be honest with you. First-time home buyers, the number is actually $6,251 in the first year. And then repeat buyers spend $5,284 a year on maintenance. So I've owned 4 properties. I don't think any of those properties I've spent more than $6,000 when it comes to maintenance. So I'm not really sure where these numbers come from, because these numbers seem kind of wild. And I think they're actually factoring in stuff that you shouldn't be factoring in, because I'm going to list some of the top 6 items that folks feel that they've needed to repair when it comes to owning a home. And of note, because I know as a first-time home buyer, I don't want to do a bunch of maintenance when I purchase a property. So I focus on homes that did not require maintenance. Like the 3 homes I've owned are 2 are condos, 1 is a townhome, and then 1 was a new construction property that I'm living in right now. So I've had very, very little maintenance expenses. So if you're a first-time home buyer, or somebody that feels that you're not super handy, maybe that's something you want to explore, is a condo or a townhome where you do pay for maintenance, but it's basically baked into the HOA fees, and there's just a lot less moving parts when it comes to maintaining a condo or a townhome, because it's joint properties, and the HOA takes care of the monthly maintenance if they're a good HOA. And the big benefit of doing maintenance on a monthly basis is it's overall cheaper, and then so you don't get hit with like these big, huge items. Like, think about a car. If you maintain it and you take it in for check-ins, it's more expensive than just ignoring the problem for 2-3 years and not doing this or that in your car. But you avoid the big thing, like I'm not a car guy, but I don't know, the turbine, is that a thing? Sorry, gotta interlude again. Meant to say transmission. I was in the Navy, forgive me. Turbines are on the ship. Back to the show. I thought it sounds like a ship, a turbine, but you know what I'm saying. There's like big things that can break down if you're in your car, if you're not doing the scheduled monthly maintenance. It's the same thing when it comes to a home. I'm a realtor in Dallas and would love to help you reach your goals of home ownership. So click the link in the description and just schedule a call no matter where you are on your journey. Not in Dallas? No worries, I can help connect you with a vetted realtor in your local jurisdiction as well. And feel free to share with friends, family, and foes. Everyone gets love. So I'm going to list the top 6 items that folks had to spend money on to repair, and kind of tell you how you can reduce the likelihood of having to repair these things, especially in the first year, because some of these things are kind of wild and should never have to be addressed in the first year. So number 1 was appliances. That was 59%. Roof was number 2 at 54%. Roof is wild, and I'll get to that in a second. Plumbing, 53%. Flooring, 47%. Windows was 44%, and HVAC was 39%. I was going to do a top 5, but HVAC was number 6, so I wanted to throw that into the list. So first and foremost, appliances. You always want to get like a home inspection. Like, things like appliances should be looked at as part of the home inspection. Like I said, I've been in this new construction home. I've never had an appliance break. I had ironically a breaker break, which turned off one of the appliances, but I've never had appliances break, because that should be definitely be part of your inspection, because those are high ticket items. So make sure, no matter what your realtor says, your friend says, hey, if it'll help you win the deal to not do an inspection, make sure you're doing an inspection. Same thing with the roof. There is no reason whatsoever you should be having a roof replaced in the first year of owning a home, outside of like natural disaster, lightning hits it, a tree falls on it or something like that. Like, roof is part of the home inspection. Like, your inspector should be going on to the roof, checking it out. And so your home inspector is not like a roof guy, but they'll be able to point out things. And then if there are potential issues, don't be afraid to spend a couple, maybe $500 to have a roof guy come out, inspect it, and to kind of tell you what their thoughts are as far as repairing the roof. Because here's the thing, like, if you buy a new construction home and then in the first year you're trying to file an insurance claim for the roof, the warranty company is going to be like, nah, bro, that's probably something that was pre-existing, right? Especially because they're looking at the age of the house, how old was the roof when you're getting that inspection as well. So typically, I think like your insurance company wants to see the roof like somewhere between, like, somebody can correct me, but like 7 to 10 years is kind of like the max they want to see as far as the age of the roof. Anything higher than that, your maintenance or your homeowner insurance is going to be way higher, because they know, hey, down the line we may have to pay for this roof. But if it's that quickly, like the first year, that's a claim that may be denied. And here's how much the average roof costs for like a 2,000 square foot roof. It is $21,440 is the average cost to repair a roof. So remember that number when you're doing a home inspection. Make sure that roof inspection is done very thoroughly, and always ask the homeowner, hey, when's the last time the roof was replaced? Because if it's been like 10 years plus, there's going to be a big expense coming down the pipe. Plumbing, pipe. Ironically, I said pipe because plumbing is the next thing. That's one of the hard things. You just got to, if it's an older home, most likely plumbing is going to be an issue. So that's something. If it's like an older home, you may want to get like you can do like a pipe inspection. That's typically like a add-on for the normal home inspection. But those, put down those snake cameras and things, look at the pipes and make sure there's no issues with the pipes being clogged, rusted. If it's an older home, especially if there's trees near the property, make sure there's not roots or things to clog the pipes. Because like when it comes to plumbing, that's one of those things that are very expensive, but it brings no value to the property. It's not like you get brand new plumbing in the house and then all of a sudden, the price goes up like, $5,000-$10,000. Well, like if you put another $5,000-$10,000 into the kitchen, that'll raise the value of the home, because that's something visual, folks. The assumption is that the pipes are supposed to work in a home, so that's kind of like a money pit item. Like flooring, I don't know, you should clearly see the floor when you're walking the property, but to me that's more of an aesthetic thing. The folks are like, hey, there's carpet in the property, but I want to put hardwood floors in or something like that. And there's a guy back there who doesn't like hardwood floors. If you have a dog, that's one thing you want to look out for. They're going to scratch up the floors, but also they hate hardwood floors. Like my dog always, whenever we play around, we always have to play around on he always runs to the rugs. He has better grip on his feet. Windows, I mentioned this in a previous episode. Make sure the windows are all similar. If they're like oddball windows, those could be something that's going to be very expensive, because you either got to find the oddball window or you got to replace maybe all the windows, because you just don't want to have a bunch of mixed match windows in your house, because that just looks weird. And then HVAC, once again, on the HVAC system itself should be a note saying like the last time that the HVAC was inspected. So if there's no like record of maintenance on the HVAC system, that's something you definitely want to watch out for. And maybe you want to get a specialist out there to check out the HVAC. Quick interlude. If you're wondering what this net was back here, it's just a net I put over my tomato plants to keep the birdies from eating these things, because they like to get out of art. Now back to the show. And now let's talk about like some of the like regrets, because the regrets to me are things that really are neither here nor there when it comes to being a homeowner. So like the biggest regret was that folks couldn't like do it themselves. Like basic stuff, I mean, you should be able to do yourself. Like you want to get yourself like a hammer, a toolkit and stuff like that, but you should not be trying to make base or elite level repairs in your property. I'm just an average Joe when it comes to maintenance, but like I can do basic stuff in my house, and it's a lot easier than you think, especially with the invent of YouTube. You can see how to replace this or that in your house. Like I said, I haven't had any major repairs in my house, but like the other day I was proud of myself. I replaced like the tail light in my car because I just looked on YouTube. So I saved myself like $200 versus going to the dealership versus just ordering a part offline and then watching literally a 5-minute YouTube video and spending 10 minutes to replace the tail light in my car. So you don't need to know how to do things yourself, but basic stuff you can just look on YouTube and figure out how to do. The next thing was not budgeting for unexpected expenses. So the first one was 33%, not being able to fix things himself. Next one was not budgeting for unexpected expenses. That was 27. So we kind of talked about that. And then last one was 23%, not budgeting for routine expenses. So we talk about like budgeting for a home. I talk about this a lot, but you always want to work backwards from a number that's comfortable for you. So like if you're paying $2,500 a month for rent, and then you put together your budget, and after, when it's all said and done, you've actually put down a budget on paper, you look at the line items and you say, okay, there's either negative money left over, so like you're living off credit cards, so clearly that $2,500 a month is too rich for your blood. There's zero left over, so that's probably still a little bit too rich for your blood, but at least you're treading water. And then lastly, there may be some surplus left over, hopefully. So let's say at the end of the day there's $500 left over in your budget, or hopefully a little bit more. Let's say 1,000. So you're like, okay, I feel comfortable. Well, maybe more than 1,000, but let's say you feel comfortable, whatever the number is. Let's say you feel comfortable with $2,500 a month as far as your living expense. You want to work backwards to figure out what a home with a $2,500 a month mortgage is. Sorta. You really want to work backwards to find out what a home that's maybe $2,200 or $2,300 a month for a mortgage is, for two reasons. One, your monthly pay, as I talked about, your monthly payment is going to go up because when it comes to taxes and insurance, those go up every single year for the most part. Somehow taxes, I've had my taxes actually go down, believe it or not, here in Texas somehow. But that's a different story for a different day. But also you want to make sure you're factoring in money for that budget. So as I talked about before, like if you can comfortably afford $2,500 a month, focus on a $2,200 a month payment. They put $300 a month in that kitty for maintenance. And so, let's say you don't want to cut the grass. To me, my thing is, hey, just spend $200 on a lawnmower, and I just cut the grass myself. It saves me, $400 or $500 a month when it comes to yard maintenance. But hey, let's say you just don't want to cut the grass. So that's some money you want to put aside. You want to put aside money for small things like light bulbs, small fixes around the house. Maybe the gardening stuff up front, maybe painting a small things around the house. So you want to make sure you have a small little budget for these little things that come up here and there around the house. Like the other day, I had a light cover just fall out the ceiling. It fell at night. I'm glad we didn't hear it, because that probably would have scared the heck out of me and my wife. Like, what's going on out there in the? It was actually in the laundry room. That's maybe why we didn't hear it. But you want to make sure you just have some basic tools around the house to do stuff. And anything too big, just call somebody to do it. And then look at some options, right? You want to make sure, just like when you're getting a mortgage, you want to make sure that you're getting more than one quote when it comes to the maintenance in the property. You want to make sure you're doing maintenance on small things around the house, like for instance, like getting the HVAC, done twice a month, checked out. Make sure you're cleaning out the dryer. That's allegedly the number one cause of house fires. You want to make sure you're doing basic maintenance on the fridge and things of that nature. Like these small things you do on a monthly basis can prevent huge issues from popping up down the line. So don't be scared of buying a home just because of maintenance, because as I always like to point out, when you're in an apartment or renting a home, how often have you seen your actual landlord or the people at the front desk come to do maintenance? Pretty much never, right? They just hire some dude in coveralls to come that's an expert and do the job for you. And when you're a homeowner, you can actually get quotes, right? And hire the person that has the best combination of price and skill set. So I think that's all I got for today. I think my buddy back there is a little bit hot. I'm sorry having y'all here for too long, but as always, buy land, rumor has it they're not making any more of it. You gotta scare everybody, what happened?